To learn how you can join me and be a champion for veterans like Chris, visit pva.org/champions.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says talks between rail companies and unions must continue to head off a strike.
A shutdown of our rail system is unacceptable outcome for our economy, and the American people and all parties must work to avoid just that.
Correspondent Josh Funk reports a strike would cause major problems on commerce and travel.
The railroads haul so much freight for so many different businesses, and they serve every single port. So this has the potential to have a huge impact on just about every business out there. Has the potential to impact passenger railroads and Amtrak as well. More than half of the commuter railroads and Amtrak use tracks that are owned by the freight railroads.
It's now being reported members of one union have rejected a tentative deal with the freight railroads, while 3 other unions remain at the bargaining table just days before that deadline. Also at townhall.com, retired Army Brigadier General Donald Bolduc has won New Hampshire's Senate Republican primary and will face potentially vulnerable Democratic incumbent Maggie Hassan in November. Former President Trump calling him a strong guy, a tough guy. President Zelensky has been to the recaptured city of Izium, a key logistics hub in northeastern Ukraine.
This is significant because this was a massive city used by the Russians as a military hub in the east of the country. And the pictures we're seeing from Izium suggest that the Russians had to abandon this city, even though they say that troops are regrouping elsewhere in the country. The Ukrainians feel they've got the momentum now, that the changes that we're seeing now on the front lines could be a turning point in this conflict.
BBC correspondent Hugo Bachega. The Dow is down 101 points and the NASDAQ up 24. More at townhall.com.
Charlie Dombeck here from Key City Capital. As a practicing CPA for nearly 30 years, I have found that 80% of your ability to grow your wealth is dependent upon 2 factors: taxes and investment performance. At Key City Capital, we improve investment performance by diversifying capital into off-market investment opportunities in passive rental real estate and alternatives like asset-backed lending. We recover dollars that clients unnecessarily pay in the form of income taxes, creating a lifetime annuity of savings. We are a sponsor of passive, affordable single and multifamily residential rental investments, which are located in Sunbelt landlord-friendly states. These investments are the top choices in a rising interest rate and inflationary environment. They represent a store of value, protecting your capital from market volatility. Learn how we at Key City Capital can help you ultimately grow your wealth rapidly. Connect with me at keycitycapital.com or give me a call at 817-912-1569.
From the Newstalk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasevich. Attorney Elad Gross filed a lawsuit on Monday alleging St. Louis has developed a scheme to routinely keep records from the public. Gross named Mayor Jones, City Councilor Sheena Hamilton, and City Sunshine Law Coordinator Joseph Sims as defendants, saying they have established a system by which they regularly violate Missouri Sunshine Law and use public funding to deny the public access to public records. In a poll conducted on which local natural landmarks people would most like to visit, Bellevue's Elephant Rocks ranked 3rd place. Aqua Expeditions, a recognized global leader in luxury small ship expeditions, polled 2,100 Americans and revealed that the Smoky Mountains was the first place most people would want to visit, and Niagara Falls was the second. And in sports, former St. Louis Rams players Ricky Proehl and Leroy Glover have signed on to join the yet-to-be-named St. Louis XFL team as assistant coaches. Proehl will be the receivers coach, and Glover will coach the defensive line. Blues forward Jordan Kyrou signed a new 8-year contract extension with the club yesterday. The deal is worth $65 million and will begin with the 2023-24 season, keeping Kyrou in St. Louis through 2031. And the Cardinals fell to the Brewers 8-4 at Busch last night. The Brewers moved within 7 games of the NL Central leading Cardinals. The two teams play again tonight at 6:45 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to newstalkstl.com.
Talk
Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis.
Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
You guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
Oh, people, this is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1,
And newstalkstl.com.
from the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your first alert forecast. Sunny skies today, getting a little warmer with a high of 86. That's 4 degrees above average, but the humidity level still staying nice and low. Clear skies tonight as we drop to 62, and sunny skies again on Thursday, a little hotter with a high of 87. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
The latest news.
These MAGA Republicans won't stop there.
That kind of divisive rhetoric on both sides, that's really bad for America.
Russia should ensure safe, unfettered access for these independent inspectors.
The news you need to know.
We've wound down pandemic relief program.
We need to make sure that a lab like this never happens again.
He's weaponizing asylum seekers.
And the place to talk about it.
Right here.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans representing extremism. That is a threat to this country.
They're just trying to provoke a reaction out of us.
This is News Talk STL.
Bring our nation together.
That inflation is going to remain at a high level.
The Dow finishing down 1,200.
Over 1,200 points.
Inflation is spinning out of control.
She set an example of selfless duty.
News Talk STL
At 1019, 94.1.
and newstalkstl.com. This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. Tony Colombo.
Libertarianism is all about
I am Tony Colombo. My partner is Katie Fitzpatrick. It is Wednesday afternoon, and we are thrilled to be back with you again today. As we sort of talked about last week and in recent days, particularly with people like Steve Templeton when he was with us on Friday, every Friday for the weekend forecast, summer is not gone. Katie and I took a walk a couple hours ago to get some lunch, thinking it's been so nice and cool. I was sweating.
Oh, it was hot. It was hot outside.
It was not the pleasant, cool stroll across Union Station as I thought it was.
I didn't feel a breeze. I did not feel anything. And I was the same as you. I was like, oh, this is going to be really nice. It's been in the 70s. It's going to be great. Yeah.
It was when I took hot. James to school this morning, it was in the 50s.
Yeah, it was cold. I mean, this morning
I put
it was
a jacket
cold.
on him. Yeah. Yep. But summer is not gone. And we were reminded of that this afternoon. And I think it's supposed to be like upper 80s for the rest of the week.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So we will we'll get more on that on Friday when we talk to Steve Templeton from Channel 4. They are always so great at keeping us up to informed, I guess I should say, on the weather every hour here at News Talk STL. So really appreciate them for doing that. And I should have paid a little bit more attention before I walked across the parking lot today.
Same. It was a nice walk. It was still a nice
day. Listen, it's still sunny.
Not the humidity wasn't bad either.
Still a nice day, but just a reminder that summer is not gone. We've got a packed show for you today. It's Wednesday, which is always a great day to listen, always a day that I look forward to because it is the day that we check in with our buddy Mark Close from KC95. We will open up Close's cabinet and see what's inside at about 3:05, so a little less than an hour from now. That will be a whole lot of fun. Also joining us today for Close's Cabinet is going to be our friend Jonathan Heslop from Rockwood Charcoal. Speaking of the weather and this time of year and it being nice outside, look, when winter ends and spring gets here, everybody's clamoring to get outside and grill, and get the barbecue pit going again. And that's great. I'm one of those people. But fall, that is what we're going into right now is for me like the time. Oh, I grill all year. I grill in the snow. So
that is so wild.
Grilling season never ends for me. But as far as just like enjoy,
nice
making it
weather,
a whole process,
I do love it.
Fall time, what we're going into right now is the time to be out grilling.
It's beautiful.
So, Jonathan Heslop from Rockwood Charcoal will be with us in the studio a little bit later on this hour, and he will stick around for Closest Corner, or Closest Cabinet, excuse me. Closest Corner was on another radio station. Closest Cabinet. Somebody told me the other day that I actually say that. Do I say Closest Corner?
No.
Very often?
No.
Somebody told me that I say it every now and then.
No, I think you said it.
I feel like I don't. I feel like I always say Closest Cabinet. But
You've always said Closest Cabinet, and the only time that I can recall was like 2 weeks ago, and you and I were both like, oh no, because of OCD.
I don't want to get into a copyright or a trademark
I don't think you say
dispute with Glover, so we're going to stick with Closest Cabinet.
Yeah.
So that'll be a whole lot of fun. We'll talk to Jonathan about grilling. We will talk to him about some other things happening. Check in with him. You know what? One of the things that I love to have when we have an advertiser or a business owner like Jonathan Heslop on is not only to talk about, all the cool stuff that you can take advantage of right now and get ready for this great time to be out grilling, but just small businesses in general as we get ready to go into the fall season. And, there's all this talk about where there going to be closures again.
Layoffs.
Is this going to happen? Yeah. Supply chain issues, labor shortages, inflation, all of these things that the country is facing. I always like to talk to our local business owners and see how these things are affecting them. And, because those are the people I want to hear from. I don't want to hear from Joe Biden. Quite frankly, I don't want to hear from any politician on either side of the aisle. I want to hear from the people that are affected by this, the businesses that are relying on the supply chain and relying on labor and
that are living through it.
Yeah. And are paying for this increased these high inflation numbers and all these things and how it's affecting them and their thoughts on how we can make things better. So always great to have guys like Jonathan in studio. So looking forward to that. Also, in just a few minutes, we are going to talk to Rodney Boyd. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, today's show is just a great show to be listening to. Rodney Boyd, always a great conversation, always just a wealth of information and insight on, news and politics in general, but particularly local politics in the state of Missouri and in the St. Louis area. Nobody is more plugged in than Rodney Boyd. So definitely want to get his thoughts on many things. None bigger than the St. Louis County executive race. And let's start right there. This morning, I highly recommend you go and check this out. This morning, Mark Mantovani joined Mike Ferguson, and it was the first time that I'd heard from him since being appointed. I mean, it's only been 2 days. He was on with Mike this morning, and for me, I don't know if you heard the interview, he was not as strong and clear in answering Mike's questions as I'd have liked him to be, but I'll give him a little bit of a grace period because again, he's been involved in this thing for like 48 hours.
Yeah, for like
he doesn't even he's told Mike he hasn't even had time to have a website. I mean, this is so brand new. It's like normally you talk to a candidate and they're like, here's my social media channels, here's my website, and he's like, look, I got a team working on it right now, but this is so brand new. We don't even have. So I'll give him a little bit of wiggle room with that, but I would have liked to hear him, be a little more clear on answering Mike's questions. But what I did get from him, undoubtedly, is his view on the role of the county executive. His outlook on that position is a lot better than Sam Page's. So this is at very least a step in the right direction.
Well, Tim and Chris had him on yesterday too.
Okay.
And I was just curious about the process of it.
That's
Yeah.
right. I had forgotten about that. You're exactly right. I did hear that. So this was not the second time I heard from him. I did listen to that interview.
I was curious about the ability of cultivating people that were from different parts of the spectrum politically, because I think right now what St. Louis County is experiencing is, if you are maybe a far left progressive Democrat, you are okay with Sam Page and you're okay with the actions that he has taken. But if you're a moderate Democrat, if you're certainly a conservative, if you live anywhere independently between those two barometers, you're looking for someone else and you're vying for someone else.
Exactly right.
And so before we had the interview with Manavati, I was asking Chris and Tim, I'm like, where does he live? I mean, we know that he was a Democrat and ran as a Democrat against Sam Page not long ago. This is his second bout with him. And he's running, I'm presuming, as the GOP, as the Republican.
Yeah, he's got the R next to his name.
But where does he live, really?
Right.
Because it wasn't so long ago that he was a Democrat. That was his party. That wasn't very, very long ago.
Well, we had Becky Arps on yesterday,
Mhm.
who's part of that committee
Yes.
that voted, part of the Republican Central Committee that appointed Mark Mantovani. She had say in that whole process, so no better person to talk to yesterday. That was a great interview. If you want to go back and check it out on our podcast,
she was great.
Our live stream. Of course, Becky Arps is the wife of our very own Chris Arps, and I asked her that exact question: is he still a Democrat? Did he change? Did he move to the right, or has the line moved so far to the left? Like I brought up Bill Maher yesterday as an example. Bill Maher built his whole career on being a
liberal,
very left, progressive Democrat, liberal, and now he's accused by many people on the left as being a conservative, a Republican, and Bill Maher didn't move. He stayed exactly where he's always been, but the line moved. So with Mantovani, did the line move? And that's why he's now more of a conservative, or did he change? And Becky's answer was, her thoughts on it was, it was a little bit of both. And I think that's probably right.
And so this is how he answered that question. Tim and Chris asked him that question. I'm sure Mike also got into it with him too. But he was very diplomatic and said, I do not believe in labels. Yeah. I do not believe in being pinned down.
That's the right answer right now for him.
It is, because if you're going to cultivate that large swath of people in St. Louis County to back you up, which he has done, he has had Republicans and Democrats back him up before, you do want to play the game a little bit to say, why should I be labeled? Why should I be pinned down? I'm here to represent St. Louis County, and our biggest objective is to get Sam Page out of there.
If you're looking for an ultra MAGA Trump conservative,
not him.
He's not that, but Sam Page is indefensible. Sam Page should be a non-starter. And as you mentioned, unless you are a pretty extreme progressive liberal, then Sam Page probably isn't for you. Even if you are a Democrat, but not sort of that extreme new wave Democrat.
Or do you think, Tony, like, if you just don't care about, because that's how he's the nomination, right? Because people just didn't care and they just voted for him.
That was going to be my next point. So you're right about a candidate like Mark Mantovani should not only appeal to conservatives, whether he's as conservative as you like him to be, he's far better choice than Sam Page. But the Republicans in general, this isn't a Mark Mantovani thing. This is a Republican county, St. Louis County problem in general, is just breaking through. So many people in this country in St. Louis, I mean, this is across, they don't watch the news every day like we do. They're not, They don't dig into exactly what these people are saying and doing behind the scenes and things like that. And they just go in and they vote for the Democrat because that's what they've been doing for generations. So that's the hill that needs to be
How do you
climbed.
break that?
That's
Mhm.
that's going to be the difficult thing for Mark Mantovani and Republicans, no matter who it would have been. You know, Mantovani or whoever is running in the county as a Republican. That's the biggest problem that they face, I believe. So we'll talk a little bit more about that issue and get Rodney Boyd's thoughts on that and get some other thoughts from Rodney Boyd about the state of Missouri and other politics in just a few minutes. Let's see. Do we want to do Lindsey Graham? You want Lindsey Graham or Stacey Abrams?
Oh, either one are such good choices. I
Here,
am down for
this
either.
one. Ready? I sometimes I just like to get mad, and this one will make you mad.
Okay.
Stacey Abrams was praised today on The View for not conceding the Georgia governor race in 2018. Praised. A host of The View praised Georgia Democrat gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams for not conceding the election in 2018 as she defended her claim that she won her race against Republican Governor Brian Kemp and that the race was illegitimate. Quote, so this is your second run against incumbent Brian Kemp for governor, and polls show a tight race, especially the poll this morning. When you lost in 2018, you didn't traditionally concede, which I appreciated because you cited voter suppression. Are you confident that this will be a free and fair election and not a repeat performance of what happened before? That was the question from Sonny Hostin on The View. I about fell over.
This is baffling too.
They are praising her, a Democrat, for not accepting the results of an election, for claiming it to be, for never conceding and claiming it to be illegitimate. But when Donald Trump questions the results of an election, he's considered to be an enemy of the state, an enemy of the republic, somebody that is so dangerous to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power that it should be criminal. He should be absolutely shut down.
Oh, yeah, exiled
for that
from
type
the United States
for saying those types of things. How is this? What is going on?
She's a hero.
Hypocrisy I'm used to, but this is incredible.
She's a hero to them. She is a hero to the left.
She's a hero specifically for
this reason,
not accepting the results of an election.
And if you talk,
what is going on?
If you talk to someone that is pretty progressive, pretty far left, which I have about Stacey Abrams, they are totally like, there is reason for her to not concede. There is reason behind why she shouldn't have to concede. It is a bought and sold type of deal where the logic and the reasoning behind why she is still, from 2018 until now, saying, I will not do that. They are absolutely back her up 100% and do not see the direct link of hating Trump for questioning an election. They don't, those two things do not correlate.
I mean, I couldn't believe it when I read the headlines, like just the audacity of being so comfortable speaking out of both sides of your mouth.
And The View just gobbling it up. That's what it crawls under my skin. A month ago, they probably did a week's worth of how horrible January 6th was and how Trump was the person who made all of that happen because he couldn't accept the results of the election. And now they have Stacey Abrams on, and they bow to her. They love her.
I was gobsmacked when I read that story earlier today. All right. We are going to keep this rolling, talk about local headlines, talk about national stories, and get Rodney Boyd's thoughts specifically on those things, including what is happening in the St. Louis County executive race and the appointment of Mark Mantovani. We'll talk to Rodney about all of that in a moment. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.
What happens next?
Oh, I think we're in a recession.
Happens right here.
I really still think there's a huge wave of discontent, and people are going to want to throw the bums out who have caused all this inflation.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Super exciting time to visit Bluff City Outdoors in Alton, Illinois. Bluff City Outdoors, of course, has been the number one place to go for your fishing needs in the St. Louis area for decades, but they just opened, and it's kind of just the soft opening. The official grand opening hasn't happened yet, so now is a great time to get out there because it's still so brand new and the grand opening hasn't happened yet, so you can get out there and kind of beat the crowds and take advantage of this amazing expansion that they have built on the building there. So now they not just service all of your fishing needs, but basically the entire outdoor lifestyle. Whatever you're into, they have the products and services to help you in those areas. And the crown jewel of all of it is the brand new state-of-the-art archery range. Nothing like this exists in 100-mile radius or maybe even further from the St. Louis area. It is a beautiful state-of-the-art archery range that you can take advantage of. They're setting up tournaments. Of course, they have free shooting. They have all of these things that you can take advantage of, especially if you get out there now, because again, not very many people know about this. It just opened up. You can beat the crowds and get out there and get a whole bunch of time in the archery range, and basically have it to yourself, or at least have a lot more options available to you until the rest of the metro area is clued in on this amazing expansion out there at Bluff City Outdoors. Of course, don't forget, you can also listen to the Bluff City Outdoors show, which airs every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. here on News Talk STL, hosted by myself and the owner of Bluff City Outdoors, Mark McMurray. So make sure you are checking that out, and make sure you get out there and visit Bluff City Outdoors in Alton, about a mile east of Fast Eddie's, and learn more by following Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook or their website, bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years, featuring exclusive products, unbeatable prices, and expert installation. You can choose from a wide variety of flooring options, including carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, plus many other options. And you'll gain a peace of mind knowing that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in-store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home online. Check out everything Michael's Flooring has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Senator Jim Talent.
We live in an age where saying common sense things is considered to be controversial or even revolutionary. Like, we need oil and gas. Yeah, I think we do. Or maybe we shouldn't shut down the schools. Maybe it's not a really great idea when troubled teenagers come in and just to rush to pump them full of drugs.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
Since 2007, the state of Missouri and local governments have handed out almost $5 billion in tax subsidies or abatements to private developers. That money could have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. And studies show these subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. If developers want to build a sports stadium or shopping mall, why should they be given our tax dollars to do it? It's time to reform economic development subsidies. The Show Me message has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Happy Hump Day. Forrest Cooper at Project 21 at 3:45. The return of Mike Ferguson at 4:25. School choice options for your kids at 5:25.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
Appointed as the Republican candidate for St. Louis County Executive, and talking about that interview that he did this morning with Mike Ferguson on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. And also he joined Tim Jones and Chris Arps yesterday afternoon. 2 great interviews. I highly suggest you go and check them out and see what you think, at least out of the box here, of the new candidate, the new Republican candidate for St. Louis County Executive. Of course, you can follow all of the shows here. You can subscribe to our podcast, the Colombo and Katie podcast, anywhere that you get podcasts, whatever your favorite podcast platform is, Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify. And then also you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Colombo and Katie YouTube channel. And of course, you can also check out the live streams of all the shows on the News Talk STL Facebook page or Rumble page. So go back and make sure that you check out Mike's show from this morning and Tim Jones and Chris Arps from yesterday afternoon, and check out those interviews with Mark Mantovani, and subscribe to all of us. Subscribe to the Colombo and Katie show on your favorite podcast platform, and subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel. I think I have another video.
Oh, great.
That I want to send you.
Great.
Little fun one that features Molly.
Oh,
my chocolate lab.
perfect. Yep.
Yes. And of
Love a
course, you
lab.
can watch our live streams every day on the Colombo and Katie YouTube channel as well. So no reason to miss anything that happens here on the radio station, including great conversations like the one we are about to have with Missouri's insider, the great Rodney Boyd is back. Rodney, my friend, great to talk with you. How's it going?
It's going well. If the connection is a little spotty, forgive me. I'm leaving Jeff City now. We had a veto and the beginnings of a special session, so I'm making my way back toward the great metropolitan region that is St. Louis. But for now, I'm on the road. So
yes.
Forgive me if the connection is not as clear as we normally like it to be.
I know that drive very well. The 54 to 70, if that's how you do it. I know that drive very well from going back and forth to the Lake of the Ozarks so often. So I understand if you pass through one of those sort of cell dead zones. We'll hang in there with you as much as we can.
When you drive through Kingdom City, my friend.
Yeah. Yes, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. So, you know what? I obviously want to talk to you about the situation with the St. Louis County executive race, specifically Mark Mantovani, but just the situation in general, because it is such a unique situation. But before we do that, as you just touched on, fill us in on what's happening in Jeff City with this special session. What's going on?
We have a constitutionally required what they call veto session, which was a non-event. That's if the legislature decides they want to attempt to override a gubernatorial veto. They're given a constitutional option to do that. That session becomes sort of nominal, and then when the one party sort of has all three levers. But it did give way this session to a special session where Governor Parson has asked the General Assembly to convene themselves around a series of tax cuts, income and other types of tax cuts and tax relief. As we are sort of wrapping up the beginnings of that, there is not a clear and a concise agreement on to what cuts will be advanced, but there is a conversation for your listeners in the Missouri Capitol in a special session that's overlaid the veto session, considering a number of tax cuts and tax cut proposals. So I suspect that they've adjourned until September the 20th, but at some point they'll come back with some meat on the bones and have a more formal debate about what cuts, tax cut proposals can be advanced through both the House and Senate and signed by the governor. So if you're a person that feels the taxes is a big burden, problem, you can rest assured that there will be some version of tax relief reduction that will come forward in the weeks to come.
So specifically, and as we've heard, from people like Representative Nick Schroer and others that are, a part of the state's government that will be, participating in this special session. As you mentioned, some of these tax issues may be addressed. Would you expect that one of those, maybe the headline of it, will be some type of reversal or offsetting of the gas tax that was passed last year that has gone over like a lead balloon throughout the state of Missouri?
So I'm going to make, I think, a pretty safe assertion that the conversation will not include the gas tax.
Wow. Okay.
For a number of reasons. I mean, the current iteration of the Missouri Senate still includes a number of people and the majority party that worked pretty hard on that tax cut. If we were talking about a session that didn't include a number of people that sort of, for example, the Senate president, who is still the Senate president during this special session, is Dave Schatz. Dave Schatz was one of the primary sponsors of the legislation that enabled the tax cut. So I don't think we get there in this special session. I think the not getting there on the gas tax could lead to some other negotiated tax relief and cuts from other categories, whether they be income tax, property tax, sales tax, tax caps that local governments may or may not impose. But I don't think the gas tax is going to be a part of the medley of things that get put on the table.
Gotcha.
Not right now, because there's too many people that work that sort of already sort of cast their perspective on that one.
I wish they wouldn't had worked so hard on that bill, because definitely what happened across the country with gas prices almost immediately after that went into place, history does not look fondly upon that decision. So, Rodney, I do want to talk to you about Mark Mantovani and the situation in general happening with the St. Louis County executive race. It's been, I think, since the whole drama of Catherine Penner dropping out and then not dropping out and then finally dropping out and having to go through this process to appoint a candidate from the Republican Party. I don't think any of that had started, but the last time we had talked. So I want to get your thoughts not only on the idea of selecting Mark Mantovani, but just the unique situation that we're in St. Louis County, and how that complicates things even further for the Republicans, who kind of already it's kind of a long shot for a Republican candidate in the county to begin with. Your thoughts?
Well, this has been if you weren't watching it, and I told you the story, you think I was inebriated to some degree, because it's just to see someone win a race that they didn't actively campaign for over an established Republican person with a couple $100,000 in and of itself was pretty remarkable. And there's a song that you and I probably remember from when we were kids. I never thought it would apply to a political candidate, but it's called the Hokey Pokey. So watching Miss Penner,
she's got her right hand in, she's got her right.
And then you end up just turning it all about, you know.
You got that right.
So I think for the Republican Party in a macro way, Mantovani is very interesting and probably a good get. The problem is you've got to explain, and you've got like a small time frame to do a lot of explaining. That never really is a good place to start when you've got an incumbent, but it's a place. And so Mantovani brings to the conversation the ability, first and foremost, to have name ID. The problem is the name ID has been identified as a Democrat candidate the last two times he was on the ballot in the county. Mm-hmm. And I assume he can explain that as he will. The other strength he brings is he's a self-funder. I'm sure he wants to raise money and he'll be working it. But I think the last time around he may have put over $1 million of his own money in. So I think if I'm the Republican Party and I get a guy that can explain the change in party affiliation in the last 18, 19 months, and he's willing to fund, and then you can now really maybe have a well-funded candidate to test out some of the speculative things that people have wondered. People wondered, and quite frankly, it wasn't that Sam Page didn't have an opponent, but Jane Dufer got in very late, didn't have the resources to sort of put the narrative out there, a referendum, if you will, on the Sam Page administration. And I think what Mantovani anticipates he can do is he can put enough money in this thing for really a referendum on the Page administration. Do you want 4 more years of the leadership, or, whatever you think of my political switching, I'm a business guy this is what he will serve, for a business guy with a business acumen. But it's all a lot for county voters. County voters in St. Louis County are amongst the most informed and sophisticated voters in the state. But this is a lot, right? This is a lot. They were still just trying to understand who Ms. Penner was, and then she's out. So I know a lot of people are really just trying to wrap their minds around all of the variables that they've got to try to digest. And I think it's going to take some educating from Mr. Mantovani to explain his entry, party switch, and why he'd be a better alternative. And I think for Sam Page, who may have anticipated coasting into November, now he's got to really deal with somebody
now he's got
more funded, savvy. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and at least that's a good thing. If nothing else, it's at least it challenges Sam Page.
Ronnie, that's kind of where I wanted to, the next question that I wanted to ask you. If you are Sam Page, are you sweating at the name of Mark Mantovani? Because This is their second go round together. And it was a close race from what I heard the last time that they had this bout. He did have the money the last time. He did have support from both Republican and Democrats. And when I'm saying Mark Mantovani did. If you are Sam Page, and if you could, Rodney, get in the mind of Sam Page, are you sweating just a little bit when you hear that name?
I'm sweating a lot. I'll
Okay.
tell you why. Because a lot of the machinations that we're talking about the public doesn't get that acutely involved. What they will begin to focus on is sometime, middle to end of October, they're going to start to see very clear ads from the Mantovani campaign framing up the Page administration. And that makes you nervous because a lot of the things that a less sophisticated and obviously a less well-funded candidate would never be able to put on the screens, whether they be TV or devices, Mantovani will be able to do that. So things that may have gone dormant, not forgotten, but dormant, right? Mandates and business, and all those things are going to be sort of reformatted in a contemporary way. And it's probably going to be a constant drumbeat of, hey, this is what this administration has done, and this is what you're going to be reelecting. So, yeah, I think it's sweating more than a little bit because funding and messaging and getting people's attention in the last 2 or 3 weeks will change this from what would have been probably kind of a landslide to a real competitive, well-funded, which means now Sam has got to counter, or he's got to spend money to get out front or counter those ads. So, yeah, I think he's sweating more than a little bit, and I think the perspiration level will only go up as the campaign gets more momentum. And in November.
Absolutely. We're talking to Rodney Boyd. Only got a few minutes left here, Rodney, so let's try to rapid fire. Go ahead.
One other thing real quick.
Please.
The thing about this November election that you got to remember is the St. Louis County is, obviously trended very, very blue. That's what it's done. But both of the U.S. Senate candidates are from St. Louis County.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not going to be as clear as, the county has voted 18, 20% Democrat. I mean, you've got a guy in Eric Schmidt that represented Kirkwood, Glendale for a long time, okay? And his family and his parents were from North County. I think this is going to be a much more interesting test of where St. Louis County really is, because you've got not just the county executive race, but you've got a U.S. Senate race with two pretty well-known or pretty well-heeled folks from St. Louis County pulling on those St. Louis County relationships.
So, Rodney, as we talked about, but in all of our conversations this year, prior to this one almost have been, about the Senate race because we were leading up to the primary in August, and we talked about how important that Senate race was. This could be a perfect example of the many sort of tentacles that come off of the results, sort of the avalanche, the down, the flow of why an election like that is so important is because that is probably going to be, at the main or one of the main motivators for people to go and vote across the state of Missouri and especially in St. Louis County. So having Eric Schmidt, a very popular, strong candidate sort of at the top, does that help Mark Mantovani or just Republicans in general because it brings more Republicans or conservatives into the voting booth in November?
That's where I'm going. I think that there certainly is something that Mantovani will tap into. When you've got the top of the Republican ticket literally from St. Louis County, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to go out and support Eric Schmidt from St. Louis County, who may, if there was not, as you said, that up-ticket race, they may be a little bit agnostic about whether or not they go. So I think the turnout in St. Louis County is going to be probably significantly high, in large part because you've got, like I said, two U.S. Senate candidates who both hail from St. Louis County. And they're going to have command centers there. They're going to have their grassroots people working. And all that plays into the county executives race, which is another reason why, to the earlier question, I think if I'm Sam Page, I'm actually really sweating a lot because I know that race is going to put a lot of resources, the Senate race, into getting out the vote in St. Louis County. And that will impact the down ticket races. No doubt about it.
So, Rodney, last question for this conversation, and hope to get you back on very, very soon. But as we see it now, 55, 54, something like that, days away from the election in November, what are the key issues that you believe are motivating Missouri voters? And are the things that Missouri politicians should be focusing on in this race if they want to win?
I don't think this changes. The number one issue is the economy. People need to feel like the government is not contributing in any way to their economic demise, and that elected officials, whoever they are waking up every day to make sure that policies and programs that help economically are moving forward. And if people feel like you're going to fight for their economic well-being, because it all starts for most of us everyday citizens. It starts out with our economic ability to eke out our lives for our families and ourselves. And I think the economy is going to be number one. Now, short of some kind of new variant that we have never heard of coming on and displacing the normal conversation, I think it's going to be people are going to vote based on the economic perspective that they see going into November, and that they feel like who's going to take us into 2023 and help us have the kind of economic stability that we really have stumbled through 2022. I mean, people thought the pandemic would end and the economy would flip back into high gear, and it hasn't. And that's the number one concern I think that elected officials are going to be mindful of as we move into the next election cycle.
Yeah. And something that voters across the state, and especially in St. Louis County, should be keeping in mind as we get ready to go into this fall and winter season. Do you even want to risk a replay of Sam Page and his shutdowns and mandates, or do you want to go a different direction? Rodney Boyd, great stuff as always. Look forward to talking to you again very soon, my friend. And we made it. No cell droppages. Be safe on your drive home, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
You bet. That is the great Rodney Boyd. Always awesome stuff from him. All right. It is Wednesday, which means in just a few moments, we are going to talk to our buddy Mark Close from KC95. We'll open up Close's cabinet and see what's inside. And before that, we are going to talk to our friend Jonathan Heslop. If you're watching on the cameras, you see his beautiful face in studio right now. Talk to Jonathan Heslop, the owner of Rockwood Charcoal, in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Lots still happening here throughout the afternoon on Colombo and Katie on 101.9. Already there, a very transitional period of time when it comes to the weather and temperatures outside in the St. Louis area, and it is no time to be messing with your HVAC system. If you're having any issues with your heating and air conditioning system, you need to call our friends at Agers Heating and Air Conditioning ASAP. Don't let what could be a very small and easily fixed problem turn into something bigger and something worse, especially if you are like me and you like to be comfortable. And so you have no qualms about turning your furnace on overnight and then turning your air conditioner on in the afternoon because it's a day that went from the 50s to the 80s. And, that's a lot of work on your HVAC system. Is this Katie's shaking her head? No, this is not.
I think you might
people
be a
don't do that.
Person. I think you're a crazy person.
People don't do that.
I don't think so, Tony. I think it might be a Tony Colombo thing.
There's got to be another person out there that's as rough on their. Jonathan's raising his ass. I love it. That is as rough on their system as I am, and I have peace of mind because I know that doing right by the customer, doing right by me, is their number one priority at Agers HVAC. So whether it be replacement or repairs, there is nobody better that you can trust to come into your home, explain to you what's happening, give you the options to treat whatever issue you are facing. And then armed with that knowledge and that information and those options, you can make the best choice for your family and your home and your budget. If you need to learn more about Agers, check out the website, callagers.com, AGERS, callagers.com.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Are you downright disgusted with the corruption of our Democratic leadership at St. Louis City Hall that's been reported in the news?
Hi, this is Mary Teresa McLean, chair of the Republican Party City of St. Louis. If you want to put our city that we all love back on track, you must get involved. If you're ready to be part of the solution, we invite you. Come and meet us. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
After 3:00, as we do each and every Wednesday. And in studio with us right now, who will be with us not only for this segment, but also through that segment with Mark, is Jonathan Heslop, the owner of Rockwood Charcoal, one of the great sponsors and supporters of this radio station. Great to see you, buddy. How's it going?
Good to see you.
I imagine that your time is Jonathan leads an incredible life, and being a small business owner and somebody that's got a lot of
kids
and just a lot on your plate.
4 kids, you got to have 4 jobs.
Yes, a lot on your plate, and so it's always, your time is always precious.
I would come down here every day to hang with Katie.
Well,
thanks, Jonathan. That's so sweet.
Everybody loves Katie. I know. But this time of year, I would imagine, is especially busy because, as I was talking about earlier in the show, there's always that scramble after the winter. Everybody's ready to get back outside and grill and do all that stuff. But for me, this time of year, fall, is like made for grilling season.
Yes.
Is that what your customers believe too? Is that what you guys see in the industry?
The people that use our stuff, they grill all year long.
Well, I do too. I grill in the
it's
snow.
But we do extra, when
Yes.
the weather's nice outside, because we want to be outside more. So yes, it does pick up in the fall and the spring, and July is usually the worst month of the year.
Yeah.
Out of all things. Yeah. Because people are
done with it.
They're done with it. They're hiding from the heat, or they're
I guess,
on vacation.
it's too hot.
Yeah.
So this is when it comes back.
They
When the kids
overstocked in the spring because they were so excited to get back out.
And it's now that kids are going back to school, everybody's home more in the evenings, and it picks back up, and we'll be going strong through Thanksgiving and even Christmas as everybody's doing their turkeys, turkeys and hams and everything.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you. So, it seems to me, but again, I grill a lot and I grill everything. So I've been grilling turkeys on Thanksgiving on my Weber kettle for 10 years. But it seems to me that more and more people are like, I don't know what to use the word experimenting, but grilling, using the barbecue pit for things that traditionally, when you think of barbecues, you think of hamburgers and hot dogs and brats.
No,
and
you use it for everything.
Yeah.
I don't think about a turkey though. That scares me.
Oh no, you got to do the turkey outside.
I cook TJ's pizzas on the grill.
Absolutely.
Like, it's one of my favorite things to grill.
I baked pies on mine before.
What?
I bake a pie. I don't want to heat the oven up in the middle of the summer, and I've got an unlimited resource of
Absolutely.
charcoal.
So why not?
I'm going to use charcoal over gas or things like
So
electricity.
is that type of thing catching on in a big? Is that still sort of a niche thing, or is that something that more and more people are using the grill for
more people are using it, and I hate to say it, but a lot of it has to do with the pellets. I mean, everybody sees what Traeger, even though they're the enemy, they have a terrific marketing campaign and education and cult following that people see more and more cooking on basically your outside oven kind of thing. And it's you can do everything. Pizzas out there are great, and using charcoal, you're afforded a lot more temperature range. You can go super low and slow, or you can go very hot and fast. You can't really do that with pellets. You've got a much narrower temperature range with those, and it's all smoke. So a pizza, you don't really want to have a real smoky pizza necessarily. So a lot of people use charcoal for that. I love doing turkey. I've always done turkeys outside. I do what's called they call it spatchcocking, where you cut it down, you cut the backbone out of it, and then you lay it flat on there.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's not so high, so you can do it on a regular grill. And I tell you what, it is the best way to do it. And I did one 2 years ago. I did 2 turkeys. One was like $180 turkey. The thing had been killed like 2 days before, and had been brined, and it was somebody's pet turkey probably. And then I went to Walmart, and I got the cheapest turkey that I could find.
Yeah.
And I did them side by side on 2 big green eggs on my charcoal with the same wood, the same seasonings, everything. Nobody could tell the difference.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
That's exactly right.
It's
No,
the same.
I believe it. I believe it 100%.
Now, the day after, you could with the leftovers because of the moisture in the white meat of the better turkey. It held the moisture, but once they came out, they were so close. But I was bummed. I was really hoping that expensive turkey was going to be worth it, but it was not.
Turkey on the grill is a.
Oh, I love turkey.
It's a great thing. I was going to say too, because we talk about Rockwood charcoal, and Jonathan, he's a local small business owner, so exactly the type of company that we love to support. But Rockwood Charcoal has been rated the #1 consumer ranked charcoal across the country. So
for like nine years in a row, we're going on. Yeah.
So you're not just supporting a local business, but you're using the best product out there. And the more and more I have mastered the lump charcoal, cooking with lump charcoal, which is not. It's not like crazy different. It's not like you start the fire and you don't know what to do, but you just learn how much more control and how much cleaner it is, and how much more control over adding flavors or smoke or whatever you want. We just grilled this past weekend for my daughter's birthday party, and my father-in-law was out on the deck with me looking at it, and I made him, and he's a believer. He's looking at the lump charcoal and he's like, whoa, this is pretty great. You don't have to wait forever for the fire to get hot. So many advantages, not only to use Rockwood, but lump charcoal in general is just a superior product.
The price catches people sometimes, but it's you get more BTUs in the bag. You're getting double the power in the bag, so it's really not that much more in the end. And be glad, because the charcoal prices here in St. Louis are half of what they are in other states. We sell our charcoal, I've seen it in Florida for $35, $40 a bag. That's double what it is here. So be happy. You're getting good charcoal prices here.
So definitely want to talk with Jonathan some more, and which is good because he's sticking around for the for Close's cabinet, which we'll do here in just a minute when we call our buddy Mark Close from KC95. But before we get to Mark, if people want to learn more about Rockwood Charcoal, find the closest retailer to them. What's the best way to do so?
Just go to the website, rockwoodcharcoal.com. Any place in St. Louis that sells meat or good alcohol or wherever, Deerberg, Straub's, Ace Hardware, every place that's got it, it's got our stuff. 120 locations.
I have a specific question that I'm going to ask you off the air. We can talk about it on the air too. When you left here last time, I had this question. It was driving me crazy because I came across it when I was barbecuing, when I was grilling back then, like a month ago or a couple weeks ago when you were in here, and then I forgot to ask you, and I was like, no, and I wrote it down on my notes, like, don't forget to ask Jonathan this question about charcoal. So I'm gonna do that.
Sounds good.
And we will be back in just a moment. We will talk to Mark Close. It is Wednesday, which means we are going to open up Close's cabinet and see what is inside the mind of a madman.
If you have questions about the investments in your portfolio, please let me help. Just send me an email by visiting freedomportfolios.com. There's no cost. The market might be uncertain, but that doesn't mean you should be too. Contact me today, Paul Kurtman, by visiting freedomportfolios.com.
The Range St. Louis West is all about safety. That's why training is a critical part of what we do. No one wants to be in a situation where seconds count, but help is minutes away. But if that day comes, are you ready? No matter what your firearm experience level is, we have courses and instructors that can help. The Range St. Louis West is the area's premier training facility, shooting range, and all things firearms retail facility. Check us out online at therangestl.com or stop by and visit with our professional staff. The Range St. Louis West. Are you ready?
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Members of one union rejecting a tentative deal with the largest U.S. freight railroads, while three other unions have remained at the bargaining table just days ahead of a national strike deadline. The IAM has agreed to delay any strike by its members until September 29th to allow more time for negotiations and to allow other unions to vote. Amtrak passenger William Cargbo says Amtrak is not helping riders by preemptively canceling trips so they don't get stuck in a strike.
I don't know if it necessarily helps customers because, I'm pretty sure these people need to get to where they're trying to go, and that probably puts like a wrench in their plans.
Amtrak passenger Peter Chamareff says the rails should not be subject to political or private issues.
One should be able to count on the trains the way you can count on the elevator in your apartment building or the flow of water in the street and the sewer and so on. It ought to be fundamental infrastructure that is at all times available.
About 4,900 members of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers District 19 voted to reject a tentative agreement today. Also at townhall.com, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee taking a closer look at a bill that seeks to clarify U.S. obligations to Taiwan.
The Taiwan Policy Act of 2022, put forth by Chairman Democrat Bob Menendez and Ranking Member Republican Lindsey Graham, would provide $4.5 billion over 4 years and designate Taiwan as a major non-NATO ally. That would afford Taiwan benefits in defense, trade, and security cooperation. China is vehemently opposed to the bill, something that's already causing diplomatic headaches for the White House. Bob Agnew reporting.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Ms. Prager here to share a product that can help keep everyone more healthy, Cofix RX. Most of us know that viruses of all types are a part of life. What we don't always know are the right products that could be protecting us. So I'd like to tell you about Cofix RX and its doctor-approved secret ingredient. As a safety measure, many doctors and nurses have been using iodine to swab their noses for decades. Iodine has been in use since 1811, and 96% of us are iodine deficient. Using Cofix RX antiviral nasal spray with povidone iodine is a smart way to stay healthy. Cofix RX is made right here in the USA. It's simple to use. You spray it up your nose, and the iodine destroys germs and pathogens where they multiply in the nasal cavity. Check out CofixRx.com. That's COFIXRX.com for a retailer near you, or use the coupon code Prager for 20% off at CofixRx.com.
The U.S. continuing to push to free two Americans being held in Russia.
A source tells the AP former UN Ambassador Bill Richardson was in Moscow this week and met with Russian leaders. Last month, Richardson told the AP WNBA star Brittany Griner should be freed.
I think she has the right strategy of contrition, a good legal team.
Griner was sentenced last month to 9 years in prison in a drug possession case.
There's going to be a prisoner swap, though, and I think it'll be 2 for 2. Involving Paul Whelan. We can't forget him.
Whelan is a corporate security executive from Michigan, serving a 16-year sentence on espionage-related charges. Ed Donahue, Washington.
2 airstrikes have hit the capital of Ethiopia's Tigray region, killing 10 people. The fighting has resumed between Tigray forces and Ethiopia's government, shattering a period of relative calm. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Starbucks will revamp its stores.
Starbucks will spend $450 million next year to make its North American stores more efficient and less complex. The company also plans to open 2,000 new stores in the U.S. by 2025. The emphasis will be on meeting the growing demand for drive-through and delivery. Starbucks recently saw the best week for sales in its 51-year history when it introduced its latest fall drinks. But it says stores need better equipment to make drinks more quickly. Among the things driving the revamp is an ongoing unionization effort which Starbucks opposes. Keith Peters reporting.
When it came time to showcase its electric Chevrolet Equinox SUV to the public this year, General Motors decided against doing it at the Detroit Auto Show. Instead, it unveiled the Equinox 6 days earlier. The decision symbolized how much smaller this year's auto show will be. The pandemic is partly to blame. More on these stories at townhall.com.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. Not quite as cool tonight, but still a mild night. Low down to 61, lots of 50s in the outlying areas. Clear skies and a high of 87 degrees. It'll be another warm afternoon, but not too humid. Another nice day, really. But we're in the warming trend that just gets a little warmer each day we go. So Friday's high 89, partly cloudy skies. Will hit 90s by the weekend. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
For $1 a day, if any covered appliance breaks in your home, we guarantee to fix or replace it. All makes and models, washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. Guaranteed to be fixed or replaced for $1 a day. Call the Home Service Club now for free information.
800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. That's 800-399-3701.
So in the news, a lot of talk lately about all the topsy-turviness. Is that the best way to say that? Probably not. About the markets and the economy. And one area that has definitely seen some changes, but has yet to really be completely flipped over is the housing market. It is still a great time to sell your home and a great time to take advantage of very high home values. So if you've been thinking about selling your home, you do not want to wait any longer. You do not want this window to close. You need to call the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway ASAP. Rodney and Jen are the best. You've heard me talk about my personal experience with Rodney and Jen. My wife and I were thrilled. Couldn't be happier with the results that we received working with Rodney and Jen. Not only the results on paper, but just working with them. Just the personal aspect of working with a team that is on your side, that's work ethic is second to none. They're awesome people. They are married. They are a family. So they bring that family perspective, that parent perspective to the conversation when they're helping you sell your home. And for us, buy another home on the other side of it. And just couldn't be thrilled. Couldn't be happier with the results that we received from Rodney and Jen. And I have talked to many people that have worked with Rodney and Jen over the years that all share that same experience. So if you're thinking about selling your home, you can't wait any longer. You need to call the Wallners now. 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner home selling team.
And see what's inside.
Mark Klaus from KG95. What's up?
Tones?
I still cannot get over that we got Joe Rush
to voice that.
I cannot get over it.
It stands out more than any piece of audio or bit on the whole station
that's our boss.
Joe voices it. Yes.
Crazy.
You hear Jeff Allen. You may not know this, folks, but you hear Jeff Allen's voice quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Allen voices, various commercials and promos and things like that. So you may not know it, but you hear Jeff Allen's voice quite a bit. Joe Rush's voice, you don't hear nearly as much.
Of course, after you listen to that, you realize it was a good move for him to stick in management and sales and not on air. Just a thought. Just a thought.
Yeah, it took him 7 times just to read those few words. So you're.
I know he's a little slow in the uptick, but what the hell?
It's absolutely not true. Joe was one take and done on that deal.
True professional.
There you go.
So, Mark, I don't even know what this update is, but at the break there, as you heard me mention, Jonathan Heslop from Rockwood Charcoal is in studio with us. And it was off air. You said that, right? About the update. It wasn't on the air.
Correct.
Yeah. Jonathan revealed that he has a pretzel update. So this is important. Here we go.
Mark, your Schneider's pretzels, they've got a new flavor, and it's limited edition for Oktoberfest, and it is beer cheese, and it is delicious.
Yum!
Have you had it, Mark?
I have not. I was talking to our friend Courtney over at the Arch this morning.
Yeah.
She told me the same thing. She knew about it also. I
love that
You got everybody in St. Louis scouting pretzels for you.
Yeah, no kidding.
I thought I was on Schneider's hotline, but apparently I am not. Now, it is the new improved. Of course, I know it can't be new improved if it's brand new, but yeah, and I am down to literally, well, you know what? I finished them off today. The original Schneider's cheese, gone, baby.
Well, they've got they sold out of them pretty quick at my Schnucks, but this morning at the Eureka Schnucks, they had several, they had a whole case of them.
Oh, baby.
The beer cheese.
The beer cheese, yes. So look at Schnucks.
I'm there.
I understand you're going to be out in Eureka this weekend. Is that correct?
I was going to be there, but unfortunately it canceled. We were all set. We were scheduled to play Ace Hardware. That's where our new album was going to be. It was going to be live from the parking lot of Ace Hardware with Close Quarters. It was going to be a double LP, but the event had to cancel. We hope to reschedule down the road. So
man, that would have been too much. That would have been every world colliding, because Ace Hardware is one of the places that you can get Rockwood Charcoal.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. That's why we were going to have a pretzel party, you and me, but it's canceled now.
Wow, I'll still meet you in the parking lot. Hell, we don't need the band.
That's right. They got lawn chairs there.
Yeah. Mark doesn't need
absolutely.
Mark doesn't need the band to meet somebody in a parking lot. So yeah.
No, I've done that many times.
Not a problem. It's funny to hear you say that about it's funny how everybody's got their own thing, whether it be a serious thing or like a funny thing, like you with the pretzels. Like Jonathan is on the, he automatically thinks of you when he sees Schneider pretzels somewhere. And you said Courtney is calling you. My wife is very well known for being having intrigue into the royal family. She's specifically a fan of Kate Middleton and, the whole drama, that unfolded years ago between Will and Kate and them getting together. She loves that story, and everybody knows that she's into the royal family, at least to a certain extent. So when the Queen died, my wife's phone
was blowing up.
It was incredible. Every single person, as soon as they saw the headline, the first person they thought of was Christine Colombo, and they're just blowing her up. Just it's so funny how that works. People see Schneider's pretzels and they're like, "Oh, gotta tell Close." He's so funny how that stuff works.
If I had to choose, your wife can have the royalty. I'll take the pretzels.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that choice.
Yeah.
So
we kind of buried the lead here, Mark. I have been very worried since we talked to you last week when you told us that the zero turn, your lawnmower, your precious baby, was under the weather and was not running. Have we resolved the situation? Is the zero turn okay?
Well, I had her out 2 days ago. We made it through, a little hinky, kind of, not our usual smooth self. We're going to be picked up on Monday by Arco Lawn Care, and they're going to look at it. And by I'm going with her. I've worked it out. They're going to hopefully keep for a week. I'm going to put a cot up back in her workshop to be next to her.
Next of
it's
kin.
going to be nerve wracking, and hopefully we'll resolve this situation. And I tell you what, it's I've been doing radio a long time. I've got kids, blah blah blah. This is weighing on me pretty heavy. So hopefully by next week, possibly an update of nothing but good news. So, light a candle and say a little prayer. Thank you.
Anything else going on in your world that we need to be talking about? The event apparently got canceled, but anything else that we need to talk about?
I want to just bring this up really quick.
Yeah,
and the reason
please.
I bring it is because I keep seeing it. And it probably, Jonathan, have you got kids?
4 of them, yes.
Oh.
He's got a whole gang.
I got plenty of them.
This guy needs a house.
How many you want to borrow?
I know. No, thank you. I know Katie's got a bun in the warmer. Tony's got 3. I keep seeing this. We watch it on the news, and it's people, and they've got kids. And they're the most wonderful thing in the world. I will absolutely say that. But the thing that always drives me nuts is these people that have these kids, and they're interviewing them, and they go, oh, we had no idea it would be this expensive. We had no idea that daycare would cost this much. We had no idea that formula would cost. Newsflash, it's available. A couple of phone calls, and I'll tell you everything you want to know. You think about having a kid, call daycare and say, what's it going to cost to bring an infant in? What's it going to cost a 2-year-old? What's Infamil? What's a case of Infamil? What about a pallet full of Pampers? They'll give you numbers on all this stuff. And then and if you're lucky enough to have in-laws or grandparents that'll watch your kid and they want to do it, that's a wonderful thing. But sometimes you hear.
But that's the one, Mark. You just daycare.
Yeah, that is
especially for an infant.
Man.
Katie, because you've been looking. That is.
Yes.
It's like sending a kid to college.
It is.
It is
It
so.
absolutely
Yeah.
is. But it's not a surprise.
But it's not a
You'll
secret.
go
It's not a
remember.
secret. It's not hidden information.
Before you do the horizontal bop, you can make the phone call and find out what it's going to cost to put the kid in the daycare. It's real simple. It's like, you know what? It's like buying a Mercedes-Benz. You lay out big money for a Mercedes-Benz, walk back to the service department and go, what's it going to cost to keep this baby rolling?
Horizontal bop.
It is crazy though, Mark. I'm telling you what, I've been talking to Tony about this a lot lately, specifically about daycare prices. And that is something that I knew it was going to be expensive. I just didn't calibrate how expensive.
It really hits you in the face.
You've got to know these things. And I get it. Double working income is very important and what it costs. And sometimes it's easier to bring somebody in and let them stay at the house as opposed to you got a couple of them. I get it. But all this information, it's there.
Yes.
And then to figure, if you want to have a kid in 3 years, just add on 7 to 10% a year on inflation numbers of what it's going to cost more down the road. So
it's crazy.
It is crazy.
And the one other thing, and Katie, this more, and then going to you, when you have your kid, treat your kid like a kid. They are children. They're not young adults. They're children. You are there to guide them. You are there to help them.
They don't have an equal say. They don't have an equal say. And
great advice.
Oh, God, they're like Switzerland. They got no game in the play, whatever. But
no leverage at all.
None. But I'll also tell you too, especially at a certain age, they want you to make decisions for them because making decisions is hard. As an adult, it's rough, and we got to live with it. As a kid, they'll kick and scream a little bit on stuff, but it's like, hey, I'm telling you, you can't do this until you can't have a cell phone till you're 13. You can't do overnight security. Blah, 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 blah. They, in the back of their minds, they like that because it takes the onus off them. So again, just your kid is not a young adult. What do they tell you that the brain doesn't even fully develop till you're like 24 or 25?
25, I think.
Yeah.
Well, in a guy, it's more like 44 or 45.
No kidding.
But you just treat them like a kid because it should be like the greatest time of their life. Being a kid, we all look back on and we all got fond, great memories of being a kid and doing stuff that just will never be the same.
Yeah, putting the responsibilities are like, all that onto a kid's lap is not, it's not helping them. It's stealing their childhood. You're exactly right.
That's all and good until you got 4 of them. And then your vote, you're outvoted.
Now you're outnumbered.
Especially when they unionize. Because my 4 are my employees and they formed a union. And all of a sudden they're working. Just wasn't happening in the warehouse.
You're sitting in the house watching television. You hear people honking their horn, like driving by the house. You're like, what's going on out there? You look outside. It's your kids
Strike.
I'm not
Yeah.
kidding.
Strike.
When they were off school for that while, when everything was shut down, and I had them working in the warehouse, boxing all those Amazon orders.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did make picket signs, and just to start to mess with me.
Dad,
Yeah.
no more.
But they made plenty of money. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
I
that's
paid them
hilarious.
good.
So I got something here for you. I want to go around the room on this one. A new survey came out. I found this to be very interesting that asked Americans to rate their five senses in order of importance. We don't have to go down each one, but like what is your most, like, the one the of your five senses, what do you feel personally is the most important and the least important? Katie, you go first.
Sight, most important.
Sight, most important. Okay.
Least important. I did lose my sense of taste and smell for 2.5 months because of COVID in 2020. So that was very detrimental. But if I had to choose, if I had to lose something, it might be smell.
Smell. Okay. All right, Jonathan.
I would say sight, just for the comfort aspect of it, but the physical thing, touch, because you don't know if you're hurting. Touch is how you know if you got hurt.
That's true.
So if you lose your sense of touch, yeah.
That's really a good.
So which is your think is the most important? Sight or touch?
Physiologically, I would say touch.
Touch. Okay.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Safety wise.
And what's
you can live through your life without everything else.
What's the one you could, if you had to give up one, which one would it be?
Probably smell.
Smell. Yeah. Okay. That's what Katie said too. Marker?
Sense of humor. Man, you lose.
No, that's not a sense, buddy. It's not one of your, not one of your five senses. Not one of your five senses. No.
Wow.
No.
That's hard. Yeah, I got to go with everybody. I would say sight, because, it takes out so many different things.
Yeah.
Although I've talked about, and Katie, you mentioned it with COVID, you lose your taste, and smell, so that food doesn't taste the same. So they talk about a lot of people losing a lot of weight because they just don't enjoy the food as much without the smell and the taste. So
totally,
in my case, that could help me out.
But sight is your number one. Like, that's your most important.
Right, and smell would be my least. Yeah,
and smell would be your least. Gotcha.
Right.
I think I would go with, man. Although Jonathan just made the most compelling argument for touch that you could that you
don't
could
know
come
if
up with.
you don't know if that handle is burning you or not.
Yeah,
so.
no, that's such a great point. But I still think I'm going to go with the other two and say sight is number one. But touch just moved way up the list, and I'm going to go with I as much as I enjoy taste. I think if I had to live without one of them, I don't know. I don't know if I could live without taste and still smell, because then that would really just piss me off.
The reason why I was so apprehensive about smell is because, kind of to your point about touch and danger and harm.
Yeah, smell.
I mean, gas leak, if you think about a gas leak or something like that. But I couldn't give up taste, because whenever I did lose it for 2.5 months, Mark, you nailed it. I didn't eat. I only ate when my body was like, you're hungry. You have to eat something. It was not enjoyable anymore. It was just like, okay, I'm stuffing this into my mouth, and all I can feel is the texture.
Smell and taste are so like intertwined. It's
They
hard
are.
to pick one without. I'm gonna go with the team though, and go with smell also being the least. So this survey was done, and it was a pretty big survey. They asked thousands of people, so it's a good little chunk. But overwhelmingly, people said that sight was their most important.
Yeah.
77%.
Whoa. I get that, because there are people that are obviously blind, but like, that's a really hard sense.
Jonathan needed to be out there campaigning for touch though, because that was a great point. So sight. So this is what Americans came up with. Sight, number one, most important of your five senses, followed by hearing at 14%, touch right in the middle at 6%, smell was second to last at 2%, and taste was deemed to be the least important of your five senses with only 1%.
Wow, taste being the least?
The vote. Yes. Yes.
Where did sense of humor come in?
Nope, not one of the not one of the five.
What it should be moving forward, right?
Not
Mark?
not one of the five senses.
Can you imagine getting around in today's world without a sense of humor?
I could.
You'd last a week.
I could.
You'd be gone in a week.
Let's see. We've only got like a minute and a half left here. That's not enough time to get anything big. Let's do this one. Viking cruise ship. So I just put that video on. I was out at the Alton Catfish Classic. You've seen the commercials for like the Viking cruise, the river cruises that they do around the world?
Yeah.
You've never
it's
seen the
gonna stop
Viking
at
river
Alton.
cruise
Yeah.
commercials? Now there's one that goes up and down the Mississippi, and this thing was
Gonna
in
stop at
Alton.
Alton.
It was there this
In Alton.
weekend. It was there this past weekend when I was there for the Bluff City or for the Alton Catfish Classic, hosted by Bluff City Outdoors. And this thing is like a hotel on the water.
What?
I don't know that the Mississippi River is.
Yeah,
if
that's
I'm
not
gonna
ideal
pay-
for me.
If I'm going to pay for a river cruise, I'm not sure.
They used to have the Delta Queen and the Mississippi
Right,
Queen.
right.
Remember those bad
Oh,
river boats
okay,
back in the day? They were
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these things, if you've never seen the commercials for
I
Viking
don't-
river cruises.
Maybe I'm just having a brain fart.
I
I
don't-
don't know.
Right.
They're typically like the ones that I always see the commercial for are like in like you go to Europe and you go up and down the
Okay,
river.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
on
yes,
Netherlands.
yes.
on these
Yeah.
huge beautiful
And we've downgraded to the Mississippi
these
River.
beautiful cruise ships, but you're on rivers instead of the ocean, like a
Okay, this is all
traditional-
making sense.
But yeah, now there's one that goes up and down the Mississippi River, and I saw it, and you can see it in the video that I posted on the Colombo and Katie YouTube channel. It was pretty crazy to see this huge. It's like a floating hotel cruise ship.
I don't know if I'm doing it.
Yeah,
Are you doing it, Jonathan?
Not the Mississippi.
That's a
Maybe
little
the
hairy
Missouri,
for me.
maybe the Merrimack.
Yeah,
I do the
Merrimack,
Merrimack every
Merrimack.
weekend. You know.
Mississippi's a little hairy for me.
Absolutely. All right, Marker, thank you as always for your time. Good luck as you rehab the zero turn, and we'll talk to you same time next week, my friend.
All right, guys. See ya.
So yeah, that is the great Mark Close from KC95.
That was a good turnout up there. We played that night at the amphitheater there in Alton.
Oh,
yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Very
Yeah,
cool.
we were up there right after. You must have just left.
I bet you I just missed you because they were setting up the
that was
the
us.
stage as we were doing the fishing tournament.
Yeah.
Rockwoodcharcoal.com to get all the details and find the closest place to buy Rockwood charcoal to you. But Platinum Rock Legends.
This weekend we're at Arnold on Friday
Nice.
night, and then we're in my hometown for my 41st birthday in Belleville
All
on Saturday
right,
night.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Support local music
Come
every
out to
chance you get,
Belleville
and
Saturday night.
definitely check out the show that Platinum Rock Legends put on. It is a awesome presentation. That is Jonathan Heslop from Rockwood Charcoal. Thanks again for your time today. Colombo and Katie back tomorrow at 2:00. Download the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you missed anything, and keep it here for the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us at 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Mistaken for silence.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I think they're trying to attack the American people.
Live and local.
Jake, Mike, Ken.